Yes?
Yes, I
am. Okay.
Hi, my name is Rachel Herring, and I'm the facilitator for this course, Introduction to Interpreting Studies for Healthcare Interpreters. I'm really pleased to be able to welcome you to this course. It's the first in a series of 4 linked courses for practicing and aspiring healthcare interpreters. The course is being offered by the Cady Center at St. Catherine University in St. Paul. It's primarily aimed at sign language interpreters, although we may be joined by a few spoken language interpreters as well. The purpose of this video is to welcome you to the course, tell you a little bit about me, and to give you an idea of what to expect during the next 6 weeks. First, let me tell you a little bit about myself. As I mentioned, my name is Rachel, and I am a Spanish language interpreter and teacher, and I live here in the Twin Cities. I learned Spanish when I was a child and teenager in Illinois, where I grew up, and during college and graduate school, I studied first Spanish and then translation and interpreting. Right now, I teach spoken language interpreters at Century College, which is a community college here in Minnesota. I also work as a per diem interpreter at the Children's Hospitals and Clinics here in Minnesota. Besides working as an interpreter, I also work as a teacher and I've also studied interpreting pedagogy. I'm working right now on a PhD in interpreting. And in fact, that means that I spend a lot of time over the years engaged with interpreting as an academic discipline. I've done lots of reading and lots of thinking about interpreting from both theoretical and scientific perspectives. And so now I'd like to tell you just a little bit about how this course was developed and the rationale behind it. As you know, the demand for interpreters in healthcare, whether for sign language or spoken language interpreting, is very high, and it's growing all the time. In fact, here at St. Kate's, we've been focusing on healthcare interpreting since 1983. And the Cady Center has been receiving grant funding to develop resources for ASL English healthcare interpreting since the year 2000. Many training efforts are focused on the practical skills of interpreting, things like decision-making, improving language ability, and so forth. All of these are really fundamental pieces of competent interpreting. But another fundamental part of competent interpreting and of skill acquisition and professional development is developing our ability to reflect on and analyze our practice. As we continually assess and reassess our current skill level, that allows us to identify areas of performance which we can work on improving. It also allows us to see where we are, to think about where we want to be, and then to set ourselves on the path toward getting there. Okay, so far so good. But let's ask ourselves another question, which is, where does interpreting theory and research fit into this picture? What use are they for practicing interpreters? Well, I can only answer from my point of view. But for me, interpreting studies and understanding interpreting studies as an academic discipline is really important for all of us. I've found that engaging with theory and research has real and practical benefits for my interpreting practice. It broadens understanding of what we do and how we do it. It gives us a structure to analyze the difficulties that we encounter in our daily work. And it helps us to think about our work a little differently. It gives us new perspectives from which we can approach problem solving and decision making. And so during the next few weeks, the next 6 weeks actually, we're going to get a general idea of interpreting studies as a field of scholarly inquiry. We're going to learn about some of the key concepts and questions that researchers and theoreticians are interested in. We're going to explore issues related to communication across languages and cultures. And we're going to think about interpreting as a complex and demanding performance activity. And as we do all of this, we're going to reflect on our own practice, and we're going to make connections between the scholarly literature and our own realities. We're very fortunate that we can come together on this online learning platform to form a community in which we can learn from and with each other. Some of us are going to be maybe very comfortable with computers and working online in an asynchronous fashion to learn. Some of us may not be so comfortable with that. Some of us may feel very excited about reading academic texts. Some of us may be a little nervous. Some of us may have a lot of years of experience with interpreting in medical settings. Some of us may be just taking our first tentative steps toward working in hospitals and clinics. But whoever we are and whatever brought us here, we all have something valuable to learn. We also all have something valuable to share. So I'm really pleased to be able to welcome you to this course, and I thank you all for joining us on this learning journey.
I think I may have to just redo that last little piece.